All right, we are back. It's quick art like time. I guess swearing is not okay. No, it's not. No, we have been requested by many people to not do it anymore, right, Derek?
Yeah, but it's the first episode this year, so maybe let's keep it, clean.
Let's start. Yeah, let's start off clean with 2020. We'll only swear when it is applicable. No more random shockers. Yeah, I was told
Yeah.
by one friend that it's not nice. I guess playing it safe. I guess.
Yeah, all right, stop bullshitting. Let's move on.
How are you, man?
I'm good, thank you. Of course, busy as always. Um, just working a bit here and there. So pretty intense weekend, pretty intense week. Last week was pretty good entrance for the year. I wrapped up some of the personal stuff, and I could jump on the new commercial projects. So it's two movies at the time right now, and there's some some plans to for the next projects, and of course keeping in touch with a new student base for next focal point term. Besides that, finishing my other personal pieces, and on top of that, preparing mentorships. So it's like a bit of everywhere. But
Awesome.
of course, there is a lot of good stuff going on because I cannot complain at all. Also regarding focal point itself, we will have, I think, quite a lot of news about it, right?
Yeah, I
We
guess so. It's first of all, it has been again a little while since our last quick art talk time. Sometimes they are quick, sometimes not very quick. Today's topic is about studies, and also what you see today on the screen, dear people, is an in-class demo that Darek did already 2 terms ago. This is
shit, man.
Yeah, it's from our late Sid Mead, our godfather of concept art. So I guess if you didn't hear that he died as a concept artist, you've probably been living in a cave, or you're new to concept art. But yeah, that icon of a guy passed in December 2019, right? Like 3 weeks ago?
Actually, yeah, the beginning of the year, I guess. Let me check.
Yeah.
But it's pretty bad, like we don't have like much, like of course we have a lot of like great artists and great concept artists these days, but one of that, like an icon that had like a huge impact and influence on all of us, I could definitely count into this group of people. Sid Mead, Giger, that died also a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So those icons that were not only great artists, but they were amazing influencers, right? It was something that that really influenced generations, and it's still current. So if you look at the Sid designs, they are still onto the future. Some of the designs were already incorporated, or they are being developed right now. But it's so much like like look into the future that kind of makes you thinking like, oh, this like you just pass generations with your designs. So you don't really create only that something that's current, but you are ahead of your time, and he definitely was. So
it was amazing. Yeah, such a futurist, such a vision. He will fuel his with his inspiration for the next generations to come. I know that. I mean, the guy was. Look at. You can see an example. Not only was he a great designer, but the way how he was presenting it, with storytelling, with the mood and lighting. Mind you, that what you see here is all done. Most of it is traditionally. So he knew lighting as is, like all the reflections, all the bounce lights, as you see, like no help from 3D tools whatsoever back then, and he was nailing it, as you see. And with today's topic, we really want to talk about studies. What are studies? So let's talk. If you're completely new to concept design, and if you're interested in it, I guess that's why you're watching this as well. Studies are when you are making an existing when you're making an existing work based on someone else. It doesn't have to be an exact copy, but you're taking into account the things that you want to learn from a certain piece. So in this example, what we're teaching our students is this was for the advanced digital painting class, and a lot of topics were covered in this one.
Yeah.
Why do we do studies? Is to raise awareness about how to play with the design itself. How does the original artist conceives the whole design, this whole composition, the whole setting, and the reason
Yeah.
why we do it is to, before you design on your own, to first, of course, maybe it is sometimes better to take that knowledge, see how someone else was doing it, and make a reinterpretation of that. And I say reinterpretation because, again, I don't think copying, like straight out mindless copying, will never work. So that is also what I want to point out. And Darek was also very strict about it, because as you can see, he is taking some freedoms with the design, with the composition, but it's still based on what he sees on the other canvas on the right.
Mm.
So that's why we do them. It is when we see students doing them, their level just jumps dramatically. And motivating students to do the studies is sometimes difficult. I've been very terrible with it myself. I know that you've been terrible with that as well. Like, we did never do enough studies, but every
Hmm.
time we do, it just raises your skills drastically, because you're just kind of also seeing what is through the eyes of a certain artist, right?
Yeah, and the thing is that you can just take like the study, and from that point, since you have all the lighting and values information already studied, you can incorporate your own design choices.
Yeah.
As you see on that Sidmit study, I just wanted to give it a little bit twist to my own, shape language, shape flow or design language abilities. So I really wanted to give it like just a little bit of twist, even though I wanted to keep the essence of the lighting, the mood, the colors, true to the original reference. And it happens on many occasions that you can just take your studies, and from then you can just start building new ideas, or basically use your study to track the knowledge that you get from the reference, and you can purely focus on design part, which is it has benefit, and both it benefits for, because you create a good illustrative piece, and at the same time you can calmly focus on design part, which is equally important. So
Exactly. Yeah, killing basically two birds or multiple birds with one stone. Yeah. So
yeah.
in this example, what was covered in class, I remember like it was yesterday. It was the importance of lighting, the importance of design. So feeling out the design, and of course
Yeah.
that alone had a lot of underlying knowledge. What I mean by that is, of course, we don't teach design just by doing someone else's studies all the time. No, but by having separate design classes, we fuel that back into digital painting class, and we reinforce it with our knowledge that we learned about design, and take here freedom to change the design a little bit. When you
Yeah.
take the freedom to change the design a little bit, like you see Derek here doing, right? There is a little bit of negative space at the front. He extends the sides of the vehicle a little bit, as you can see. That means that Derek understands the design philosophy and the flow of it, and feels confident enough to make adjustments that will make this design different, but still will abide to the main design language of the vehicle, while not making it ridiculous, right? That's the
Yeah.
number one mistake we see with people that start with concept design, and we had the same mistakes. Really, we just wanted too quickly to jump into things that we wanted to come up with. But the importance is really first looking, of course, at the real world, right? We have episodes about that too, reference. But studies is actually putting that into practice while looking at masters, basically, because I consider Sid Mead being a master, while looking at masters and trying to really understand what they were thinking from the design to their brushstrokes to their techniques, basically.
Mhm.
So yeah, lighting, design, composition. I think these are the three main keys areas. But since you
Yeah.
did this piece, Derek, what were other things that you were thinking while making this?
Well, I would like to also point out, like generally, how do we approach certain studies? Because of course, this is just one of the examples.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, you see, this sort of like scene that has like some story, and then there is some design involved in that. But I would like to also point out the way that we teach in class, in design classes specifically. So. If you take environment or vehicle designs, we also do studies, and it's not just we just study those objects for the sake of studying them. It's more like we study them in depth, analyzing, for instance, the technology, the materials, the
Mm-hmm.
way that things are folded, the way the buildings are being built, the engineer part behind the designs. And when we get to study them in depth, we are much more flexible with designing our own things, and we can definitely see that by how our students are progressing week by week. Because first week, first two, maybe or even 3 weeks, we just adjust the level difficulty level to our groups of students, and we
Yeah, both
try
for
to,
intro and advanced, right? Very
yeah,
important to
exactly,
mention out. Yeah, yeah.
and we tackle as much studies, no matter if it's only in class or also at home, because we give them a lot of like stuff to do at home as well, just to build this sort of like maybe not a resume, but this sort of like get them prepared for our workload that's happening for all those 6 or 8 weeks, right? So we kind of get them prepared in that, and even when we just start on the new tasks that are purely custom designs that we have to create, we still rely heavily on what we studied before, or we give them notes to, how to get prepared to prepare your custom design, and how to study that beforehand, even before you even jump onto designing something new, right? Because it always, lays in what we have. It always lays in like the nature and the technology that we have, that we developed across the years. Even though you want to build something futuristic, you can always rely on resources that are embedded into current times, or they are being developed, for instance. So this shows, and I wanted to point it out because we have like always similar approach to get them ready for designing,
Mm-hmm.
because there is no other way around to get you prepared to do interesting yet functional stuff. Because we see a lot of interesting stuff or a lot of fun stuff, but a lot of it is just random, because maybe it's generated by 3D kit bash, I don't know, like modeling or whatever. But if you have the right study, the right amount of studies behind you, behind your backs, right? It's something that supports you, and then you have all the hours of effort that you put into understanding the subject. Then you will see how much you are able to generate multiple ideas, and your brain will never be, it will never be enough. You can always just spam new ideas. It's like, it's not just to recreate one design. It's like, oh, this is so good, but I don't have like any ideas to come up with something else. If you do enough study, if you get into the subject, if you really digest it and learn more, you will see that you are always flexible to come up with something fresh all the time, every time.
Exactly. You hear the man, which means don't be too hasty. Even though if you sign up for any school or course, it might be our school, different school, but even if you're doing it on your own at home, don't jump too quickly into making fast designs, or like quick speedies that you see maybe other artists doing. In fact, it all starts being like Darek also said, and what I also want to stress upon is being a very efficient observer of the real world, right? You
Hmm.
cannot really bypass that. Once you are an observer of the real world, and you think that you're observing the real world, again, don't jump into, oh, now since I am observer of the real world, I can, do this and that and make aliens with laser guns. No,
Yeah, and at the same
just
time,
start doing real life stuff, right? That you
yeah,
see from the real world. If you see a nice building, draw that building. If you see, for example, a traditional artist like James Reynolds, for example, make a study of that painting. Not only cover and think about his fundamentals, but also think, how is he effective with his brush strokes, etc. There are many, many details and much more stuff that we talk about in class to tackle that efficiently. And
yeah.
once you have a certain amount of good hours of studies, you'll become a much more better designer or illustrator for that matter. So,
Yeah. And that's, for instance, like some students are maybe wondering, or they are asking us like, oh, but I just made that hundred of studies, and
mhm.
I still don't have like a clear idea on, how to design my own building.
It's efficiency,
You know,
right?
it's efficiency is one thing, but also it's like how much you are into the stuff, right? It's like,
Yeah.
you are, for instance, like you love doing those mechs, and it gets
Love them.
it for you it's so easy, and I can see how you can tackle the tiny details. And some people might just ask like, or wonder like, oh, how, like, what's the visual library, how
It's
to
not
build it, and
easy. It's
all of
never easy, to be honest.
it's never easy,
But
but you are so into that,
mhm.
and this is more like your passion. The same with like when I just walk, or when I just go to different country, and I just make some photos, and I just visit like some churches or cathedrals, just even walk around the street. I'm just analyzing the building, the structure,
Yes.
the shape flow, the design, the material, the way that it's being constructed. And you just digest those things on a daily basis without even forcing you to do.
Yeah.
And some people, when they study, they are forcing them because we told them to do that, right? But if you don't feel it, you just have to start, feeding yourself with the subject that really interests you or really sparks new ideas in your brain. Because of course, no one's gonna ask you to, to design exactly the same mix as you are doing, for instance, or have the same passion to mechanical parts. Because if someone doesn't like it, they will probably never like it.
Yeah.
They can maybe find the inspiration in it, but like forcing yourself is not a good thing. So we rather give our students a lot of different possibilities, a lot of different ways that you can get inspired by objects that surrounds us, and then they can pick it up, and it's like, oh, I really love this subject, I want to digest, I want to explore this subject. So this is the way, and not really forcing you to do so, right? Because if someone just right now, I lately designed some character designs, and it was super fun because I don't do it very often. But if someone just tells me to to make for instance a personal project on character designs only for a whole year, I would get probably bored, or I would like to kill myself. I just want to explore the world, so I'm just
going
building the.
going like into extremes, killing
Well,
yourself.
yeah, of course it's you can put
I
it in quotes, but the
I know
thing
what
is
you
that
mean. Yeah. It's
the
yeah.
thing is that you have to do what really fits your motivation, your inspiration, what gives you the this sort of like spark, that kind of gives you the fire, and you
Exactly.
really want to
Yeah.
explore it. So
But wouldn't you
and the
agree
way.
as well that sometimes, because the, I don't want to go too much off topic, but I think it is just a quick mention about that, what you just said there, right? About
Mhm.
doing what actually motivates you. Because, yeah, you're right. A lot of people would claim, and we had, because we already had a lot of students saying, yes, I do studies, I do work, and I don't see the improvement. And I think you're very right about saying maybe they don't have the passion, right? So when they study, in the end, their brain just goes into the mode of mindlessly copying what they see without
Mhm.
showing too much passion. When you don't have passion, you will never understand what you're painting, drawing, or sketching.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think when you're a student, cover topics that excite you, of course, but I think, wouldn't you also agree it is very useful to cover topics that are not as exciting? Because in
Of
the end, it's
course.
work, right?
Well, you remember last time that we were sitting after class and we
Hmm.
were wondering like what to do for the final assignments for advanced digital painting class,
Yeah,
and I just told you, man, maybe we can go back to like drawing animals, and we were so hyped about it, but we thought maybe, in the end, it might be just a little bit boring. And when we presented the subject to the students, half of them were excited, half of them were like, eh. But after next week, when they brought the works, and I could tell that everyone was so excited because they found excitement within those tasks. For instance, if you study lizards, or if you study forest animals like birds, or like or deers, you really explore the shapes and explore the forms that you are not really um, attached to on a daily basis unless you live in the forest, right? so
yeah.
so this is
Maybe
something
some
that,
people do, never know.
yeah, but this is something that you just
Yeah.
sometimes have to keep your mind open, because it's the same when you know new people, for instance, right? If you are always closed, within yourself, you'll never really maybe find like a friend, or you will never find the people that you find motivating or inspirational in your life. So this is the same thing here. If you say like, fuck it, I don't like it,
Yeah.
from the beginning, if you don't even give this subject or topic a chance, you'll never know. So this is what we did with, for instance, this task.
It's
We
like with food,
opened
right?
the.
Yeah, you're right. It's like with food. Like, how do you
It's
know you
yeah,
don't like
it's
carrot
like with
cake if
food,
you never
exactly.
tried carrot cake, for example?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Like
So,
10 years ago, if you asked me if I want to have a sushi, I was like, nah, so disgusting, right? But if you try a new good one, and if you really, open your mind or open yourself for it, it's like, oh, this is amazing. This is super delicious. So this is the same situation with the topics that we discover or we really cover,
I'm getting
and it's
hungry,
the
man.
same. And it's the same in our classes. Like
Yeah.
for first 2-3 weeks we do, for instance, the studies of like a very sophisticated, for instance, cathedral design, and it's like, oh, some students are like, oh, it's gonna be boring because so many details, but 1 hour into, 2 hours into, and I can tell and I can see that they are so, they're kind of making themselves go through the pain, but after they will go through that, they have so much fun because they are challenging themselves all the time, like the way that it's flashing out on the screen,
Yeah.
and they see it's going much better, and it looks really interesting, and it gives them new ideas, and they want to keep designing. Is the best feeling,
Yeah,
when you are a
it's
teacher.
like basically the challenge itself becomes fun, something that you never experienced before. So yeah,
Yeah,
that is a short lecture, guys, about really going there, explore topics that you never touched. I also did not draw enough animals in my life.
yeah,
I know Darek was a master at horses. You should paint some horse scenes again, man. Yeah, it's
yeah, maybe.
you were like the horse
but
whisperer in the whole
but
concept
you know
design
what?
industry. So
but but I don't feel that hype anymore, right? I'm so much into architecture and environment these days, so but I don't really close myself on this topic anymore,
yeah,
because maybe just paint like amazing, or design amazing castle or some ruins, and just paint in, for instance, Witcher on the horse. Like, why not, right?
yeah, mix the
we,
two.
we can do whatever, but the thing is, like, I'm not really closing myself on any topic, right? As you
Yeah,
know me, I'm just, on a daily basis, I work on environments, on level designs, on vehicles, on characters, on everything. So this is the stuff that we are also practicing, and sometimes we are practicing through this sort of like thinking that, oh, it might be boring, but we know it won't, because you just give yourself a chance to like this subject, and in the end of the day you see like, oh, this is something that I really want to explore, right?
yeah. It's like building up the hype, because if you know that you start to like something that you didn't think that you will like, then the actual thing that you think you will like will be even more awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, for example, I love doing mechs, right?
yeah,
And then I am afraid of drawing, a horse or an animal, or like even a a fantasy piece, but then I start enjoying it, then I know that there's always a bit of knowledge that I can carry from those different themes and pump it back into my favorite theme, which is mechs.
Mhm.
That is like, again, another benefit of studies. And of course, the fundamentals, guys. Again, we talk about it almost every time. Fundamentals of drawing, painting,
Yeah.
knowing your light, knowing your shapes, knowing the proportions, your line weight, your brush strokes, everything. The brush strokes are
Yeah.
like not like what brush you use, no, but the efficiency, the economy of it. Are you able to make a three-dimensional illusion with just line art, for example, or just with a value painting, right?
Mhm.
In the end, what also wanted to cover, because I made a list this time, just to avoid a little bit the chaos that we sometimes have in our talks, which I also
I
like
don't
a
mind.
little
I
bit.
don't mind chaos.
Yeah, me
I just
neither.
wanted to ask you,
What?
since like I just want to ask you,
Uh
since
huh.
I think it might be uh, interesting
Yeah.
to the viewers. Like for instance, um,
Ask me.
you of course do a lot of studies. Like of course the studies
You
on
think I do a
exactly.
lot of studies? Yeah.
Well, you do the studies on the topic that really just interests you.
Yeah.
Like planes or like
Oh yeah.
tanks.
Yeah, I
You
did
don't
a
like.
lot of jet studies last
Of
summer.
course,
Yeah.
it's not like just putting it on like a like a disadvantage, but when I look through your portfolio, it's like plenty of tanks, plenty of planes, and even when you do your own iterations, you still do at least half of them is just studies, which is awesome because that's why you are so into the topic and that's why you are so flexible with it. So maybe it would be good if you um, introduce people to your way of studying and how it did help you to build this sort of like visual library to build, for instance, your own mechs, or how it translates through your brains and how it really fuses your
Yeah. That's
uh, brain with new ideas when you do plenty of studies. I'd like to elaborate on this one.
That is a very, very good question, and I think we talk about it in class. I will try to give like a short answer because I think
Hmm.
you know the long answer. I think you do, but yeah, I sometimes really I know that I took for granted the importance of studies. Right? I think I started to understand it myself more after we started the school
Yeah.
back in 2018 already. Do you remember when we started to do studies because we were like doing live demos and I felt the improvement myself. Like fuck, I thought with myself, shit, I really took this aspect of concept design, illustration, and what I do really for granted, right? Like
Hmm.
I think that I always was a good observer and blah blah, but I was never practicing it, right? Like I saw the shapes. For example, if I look at the
Yeah.
jet Harrier, for example, the AV8 Harrier, then I read about it. I understand. I want to know is what enables the Harrier to lift up vertically and
Hmm.
go horizontally like a jet as well. I want to know these little things, right? And
Hmm.
I study, I go through the layout of how the engine goes, how the air is being sucked in, where does it go out in order to be lifted. And
Hmm.
I always took that knowledge and always tried to kind of fuse it into my designs. But I know that I never did enough of like actual studies. Like,
But you didn't actually do it
exactly.
intentionally. It was more subconscious, right?
Yeah, it was
It was
subconscious. Yeah.
it it was similar thing for me when we because we had a lot of chats about it, but of course it was all behind the scenes. So I'm really happy that we can discuss this sort of stuff in our art talk sessions. That I'm pretty sure we're gonna do much more this year. Uh,
Promise?
but the thing is that we do a lot of things because we feel them, and the feeling comes with practice. And when you start teaching someone how to do that, or how to why you are doing those things, this is the moment when you also have to challenge yourself as a teacher. because you have this knowledge, but you have to pass that knowledge on someone else, and you start questioning why you are doing these things that way or another. So it was exactly the same situation
Yeah.
when I was starting doing like more and more pure architectural drawing and sketches on environment design classes, even pushing over compositional stuff rather more into digital painting class, so I could purely focus on design aspect of environments.
Yeah.
And then that's why it also helped me, because my mother was architect, and she has a good eye on buildings and relation of the shapes, and she has that knowledge, in-depth
See,
knowledge
there's your
on.
hidden passion. That's why you're so,
Yeah, but the thing is
in
that I
love with
didn't study
buildings.
that, and that I didn't study that enough until we started first classes at Focal Point, and I really wanted to be more flexible with explaining things, because it cannot be just you have to do it, because when you do hundred or thousands hours study
Yeah.
for the buildings, you will be better environment designer. It's not only about that. I started like buying new books about the architecture. I started reading about it. I started watching more documentaries. I started really digging that in depth, because it was always my passion, but I really want to dive deeper into those like technical aspects, as you mentioned, for instance, the way that the engines suck the air, right?
Yeah.
And since we both, for instance, have passion to cars, I think actually I injected that passion a little bit
Yeah.
into
Thanks,
you,
man.
and
Well,
you
I mean,
injected that passion.
you know me. I was like hardware, but yeah, now it's
Yeah, but
yeah.
that's the thing, that, and we started like reading and watching documentaries on the engines, and how everything works, and it really opens your brain, it really opens your mind. And the same way I treated architectural designs, and this way for instance, last year I had like this huge project on the real architectural place, when the client needed concept vision,
Yeah.
design
Yeah.
vision
That one. Yeah, you told me about it. Yeah.
for the real buildings that are gonna be built. So it was collaborative effort between visual artists and engineers, and I can tell you that all that study, all that in-depth research that I do every time the new focal point term starts, it's tremendously help.
Yeah.
It gives you so much confidence. It gives you so much ideas for technological aspects, so you're not feeling limited anymore with only the references or the stuff that you got in front of your eyes, but you can dive into and design, for instance, very crazy and organic shapes, and that specific materials let you create those, so your designs are not limited, and you can push visual aspects to the maximum,
Yeah.
basically, right?
Yeah. Exactly. This is what I was what I was getting to. Like uh, with my example, when I was reading, studying, about how a jet works, I never took that knowledge and like redrew it. I would always infuse that knowledge in my designs. But what I took for
Mhm.
granted is never making a study. Like for example, so what I would now advise to everyone is, pick a passion, pick something that you like, of course, but be ready that in the real world you'll have to sometimes design things that you're not such a big fan of. But since you're learning, pick a topic that you like. But at the same time, pick something that will be useful, right? As a
Mhm.
concept artist, so a piece. Actually, everything is useful. However, I don't want to derail with my topic again. Again, pick a topic and don't fuse that knowledge that you learn from a certain jet or a vehicle or architecture, like a medieval building. Don't make your own version right away, but redraw basically what you learn as how it was in the real world. That will really tremendously increase the believability of your
Yeah.
design and the richness of it. It is just it gives you a tremendous skill boost. It is unbelievable. Of course, it will not be a portfolio piece and showing off how good of a designer you are, but that comes later. Really, you're making the fruits right now. that will show an outstanding design based on what you learn. And that is what I took for granted. And yeah, I really enjoyed my jet study run that I did. I did like in the end 10 or 12. I was tried to do it like 2 to 3 per week. And I really, really learned a lot. During last term, I infused that knowledge, and we were basically designing our own jets as well. Something that will be picked up this term again. And yeah, I know that you have some crazy stuff being cooked for the upcoming term as well. Architecture, working with 3D, hybrid concepting, right?
Yeah.
But all that is possible. It all looks good and believable because we don't skip the importance of studying.
Yes.
So yeah, that is I'm super my heart is beating faster after talking about that subject. It always excites me, no matter how many years pass.
I thought it's more beating. It's beating faster because you talk to me, but
Huh? Sorry? Oh, of course, yeah. Hey, the butterflies in my belly will never go away when I talk to you. Holy shit, Derek. Uh-huh.
Cool. Anything that we should still cover?
Well, we've been 36 minutes. I think what we will do is just we can. It's not live, so we can just what we can do is always.
Yeah, maybe. Sorry for maybe we can actually, because I really want to. I really want us to do that more often, and we start hanging out with more art friends here around. So maybe we can also sometimes have some guests to
Of
talk
course,
about.
yeah.
I don't want to do like another level up, but I want to do very interactive art talk.
Yeah.
So I think when we start like sharing the information about it, it's up. We would also love to hear like the questions from people that are watching us, and that maybe the ideas for the next sessions, because we of course have plenty of ideas, but we would also love to hear back from the community. So let's make a deal that guys, if you of course like it, share that podcast, and of course help us by commenting on that what topics you would like us to
I heard
cover.
it helps, yeah. Commenting, liking,
Yeah,
subscribing,
definitely.
hitting the notification bell, turning your screen on and off 5 times. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, it is all those 21st century stuff that you should do it if you like it. If you not like it, then of course don't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I guess I think after 38 minutes, no one is here and not liking it. So I hope that you liked it to some degree. And yeah, like Derek said, I think what we also should do is again do a live version one of these times to have a Q&A so that people can interact with us. But what we also want to do is, we do this to give like a snippet of what the school is all about and more. And yes, we want to have people back, invite them, talk about art and more. Keep it spontaneous because, well, the real lecture planning, we leave that for the school. This is, we want to keep this more loose, I guess, right? So, yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, guys, don't forget to do your daily studies or weekly. Be disciplined about it. And if you have problems with discipline, sign up for our March term because, we only not teach you the knowledge, but we try to be very disciplined to you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, great.
any other comments?
Yeah. So should we wrap it up? I think it's a good like start over for the new year, and I think the next one comes in next week, right? So
Yes.
So because right now I'm just sketching. You are sketching probably.
I am sketching. Yeah, I was sketching cars.
So we are at the same time we kind of use this time to the maximum. So it's well spent time, because we can do a new session.
Yeah.
At the same time we do new creations. So it's pretty cool. And on to the next one.
On to the next one, and I hope that you also enjoyed the video Darek was doing here. We have plenty of recorded live demos, so we will all use it step by step, little by little here. There, of course, this one is just some technical information. The video that you saw is only sped up by 33%. So it's almost real time. He smashed this one in a little bit more than an hour. After we're done talking, I'll speed it up like 20-30 times just to wrap it up within a minute or two, so you can still see the final piece, but in a very, very, very fast pace. Other than that, I also have to thank you, of course. Thank you for your patience. I think, thanks everyone for the messages as well. We've been receiving also a lot of messaging. When is our talk coming back? So it is back, and I hope everyone will enjoy it, and we'll make it better from here as well.
Yeah, and I think we also want to do like a more interactive ways of like, really giving you more insight into how the focal point is even of the season. So because we of course are constantly working on that to make it better. We have plenty of new ideas. We have plenty of new guests in lineup.
Yeah.
And we also want to bring back like some workshops. So all of that, we also want to partner with new companies, but all of that will be announcing step by step very soon. In the meantime, of course, what is also important that I wanted to point out is, guys, if you want to sign up for Focal Point upcoming term, and you still don't know which course you should pick up, just send us an email. We always reply back with the right information about like what do we think would be the best suitable course or the best set of courses for you. So don't be afraid. Just send us an email. Just go on and reach out to us. So
exactly. Yeah. I guess that will be it. Again, thank you everyone for watching, and see you again soon.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.